For a moment, did anybody have any issues uploading their resume into the Kevin Tools folder? Resume book, any issues with that? Okay, perfect.
How many of you have already been approved for your resume? You got a message from either myself, Ashley McNabb, or Corinne Baldwin saying, congratulations, you've been approved as a book. No. So if you submitted and it was not approved, right, or you did not receive a message, it's because you uploaded it to the profile, not the Kemmons Wilson School book. So make sure you're sending it to the Kemmons Wilson School book. That's the opt-in. What was that?
I might have uploaded it to the profile.
So just a reminder, if you put it on your profile, it doesn't let us know that we have a resume to review. If you put it in the book, it goes literally, we get an announcement every day of who we have to review.
Oh, okay.
So-
Mine's been reviewed, so.
Yes. And the goal is to get your resume approved into the book. So we'll send you edits and we'll send it back, but I know that is a huge, getting in the book is a huge part, a lot of points in this class, I believe.
Yes, it's 110% of your lunch.
So let's make that happen for us.
You have a question?
Today's a really unique day. We'll have the rest of this presentation online. So
Yes, it'll be online, so you'll be able to see that online. Okay. Anybody else have to leave early?
We're trying to all get out of here. They're gonna literally pull them to be like, Marcia, you gotta stop
You're
because
still
we have
looking
to
for the
do it."
cane, like take somebody off
I
stage?
told you he was gonna do that.
Yeah.
So-
So if you do leave though, just be quiet about it and go out the side so you're not blocking the camera, okay? Is it rolling now?
Yeah, I will stop
How you
that.
doing? Okay, so I will turn it over to Ms. Lopez Fleur.
Okay. Disclaimer, I'm gonna talk fast today. We have a lot to get through in an abbreviated amount of time, all right? The good thing is that we're gonna record it, and if I have to, I'll come back and finish this presentation. But I do know that it's longer, it's planned for the 2 hours, not the abbreviated time, all right? So I'm gonna be talking about debunking the millennial myth and really helping you get focused on building your connections now. Other than Amanda, I think she's the only one that has heard part of this presentation. You were in HSMAI in a meeting last year. I did this presentation and it was like, whoa, students had no idea about how most employers see your generation. So it was a really great conversation we had. And this class is gonna be a lot of conversation today, right? So shameless plug, we're doing all this to get you ready for this career fair. Because at this career fair, you will be networking and meeting employers and talking about whether it's job shadowing or an internship or a permanent or part-time job, right? So we're trying to get you ready so that you're presenting your best professional brand possible at this event. Right, so I'll see you there. Well, I'm gonna cover some elevator pitch work, and I'm gonna give that to you as a thing to take home, because we're gonna talk about that more in this class, and I'm sure Professor Fleur is gonna cover it a little bit more as well. We're also gonna talk about how to build connections through social media. I'm gonna try to answer quite a few questions and make sure you're logging your experiences on your Tiger Zone, the SLPCs, right? So I'm gonna start with what is a seminar, all right? This is so over the top, but I guarantee you that you're gonna see something that you have done either yourself or you know that a friend has done. And this is sort of the wake-up call. I wish it wasn't a young woman in this video. I wish I found one that was a male doing this, because men do it too, all right? I want you to just pay attention. I'm letting you know it's over the top. But I think it really does spark interesting discussion. Okay? Sometimes this works, and other times it does not. And that is why, whoops. In my presentations, I've learned to always just put the URL at the bottom. If I have issues, I can fix it.
Amy, it says you are trained in technology. That's very good. Are you adept at Excel?
No,
PowerPoint?
no,
Publisher?
not really.
Exactly in what area of technology are you proficient?
Snapchat, Pinterest, Instagram, Vine, Twitter, you know the big ones.
I'm surprised you didn't say Facebook.
That's for old people, like my parents. That's funny.
Well, Amy, when you're working for me, you have to have those kind of research skills because I'll send you things for you to comb through and get the answers and send them to me. So for that, you've got to be really good at technology.
For stuff like that, no problem. I'll just ask Siri.
You'll just ask Siri?
You know, Siri tell me this, Siri find me that. We're all good at getting you the answers.
Tell Siri, I want you ready to go at 8 sharp each and every morning.
I don't understand
What don't you understand?
what you just said.
You don't understand be ready to go?
No. You said 8, right?
Yes.
8 like in the morning 8?
Yes, in the morning.
Yeah. That kind of doesn't work for me. Who gets up at 8?
I do.
I Skype with my French boyfriend in Paris until like 3 in the morning. I don't even get to Starbucks until like 10, where I order my grande chai tea latte, 3 pump skim milk, light water, 2% foam, extra hot but not too hot. So if it's okay, I work best in the morning at 10:45.
Wow. Amy, I don't think we're going to be a good fit.
Why are you so negative? I can sense your hostilities, and right now I am not feeling very safe. I've been here for over 5 minutes, and the only nice thing you have said to me was nice resume, which I typed all night for this meeting with you. You've given me no guidance, no validation, no encouragement, no supervision. Is there an HR director somewhere?
HR director?
Yes, I need to speak to someone. I may have to take off today as a mental health day.
Take the day off. Amy, look at me. You don't work here.
Are you firing me?
Okay, yes.
Okay. So, and I don't know what that next one is, so let's hurry up and shut that down. Okay. So, let's talk about this satire. It is over the top, but what is something, and I'm not gonna put you on the spot, let's put a friend on the spot without naming that friend's name. What's something that you know that a friend has done, and has made a big mistake, has made a faux pas, and you guys have seen it before, from this video, it stands out.
There's this girl, she was applying for a job at my job, and she was like, we're really days, like, she all coming up, and I know that, and she's like, yeah, I need to be on for all the festivals coming up, gone through. I mean, she was just like going down with it. She's like, yeah, I can't work for this, because I'm just waiting for so I can make money to go to festivals. What do you think?
So how does that promote her professional brand? You know, like you're basically saying you need to work around my schedule, right? And you do have the opportunity to express that mostly in job applications, like what is your availability? And I can tell you, Professor Floor has seen this in the industry time and time again, where people will say whatever they wanted to say to try to get the job, but then once they got the job, they were trying to switch up their schedule like crazy. Just be honest from the beginning, right? But also understand, you guys are in hospitality. Like, you're working the holidays. You're working the festivals. Like, that is the nature of the industry that you're going into. So I want to help you understand that earlier on so that you're not making one of Amy's mistakes, right? Any other things that Amy did that were just like, you know, you've seen a friend do, or you've seen a colleague do? Yes, Dominique?
Like I've seen my coworkers, like when they're talking to the manager, trying to ask them a question, or just hearing the manager saying, they'll pull out their phone, even if it's just like look at the time, or check the call or text that came in. They still look at the phone and
And it's tricky because we have to learn how to deal with this technology that has become almost like an extra limb in our lives, right? Because we depend on our phones for reminders, our calendars. It's our primary source of communication, and I get that. But there's a time and a place for everything. I can tell you, I've had students come into my office for appointments, and their phone is out. Or they have their Apple Watch, and every time a new message comes in, they're like, and I'm like, do you have somewhere to go? Because what am I thinking of? You're looking at your time, and you have to hurry up and get out of there. So be careful about how you're letting the technology or having that source of technology, right, interfere with your professional brand. There is something called do not disturb on your phones. So if you're going into a meeting, if you're going into a presentation, if you're going into a class, it's very easy to just, go, do not disturb, and then when you're done with the class, turn it back on. It's simple. Amy's done a number of mistakes in this video, and it is over the top, but I think it really does spark good conversation, and it kind of makes us reflect on ourselves, right? Like, look in the mirror, take a hard look, and you know what you've done that might mimic some of Amy's behavior in some way. Maybe you've said like too many times. That happens as well. So check yourself. You control your own behavior. Other people can't do this for you. But I'll let you know that it was an employer who sent me this video. An employer. Because this was the employer's perception of the students and what he has been seeing apply to his company. And I'm trying to tell him, no, that's not true. Hire my Tiger talent. They're so much better than that, So I kind of need your help, guys. You've got to change your script in a big way, all right? Otherwise, you're supporting this misconception, or at least what I hope is a misconception of your generation. And I want it to be a wake-up call. Now, I did a presentation about maybe 2 years ago to the HSMAI Mid-South chapter. And this is where our content now leads, okay? You know that my work is always going to stem off of the SLPC, so I'm going to move right on from there. And anytime I put it in blue, it's like I'm trying to hit all those targets, okay? It's the same thing that I did last time, all right? And I'm thinking about how little time we have today, so I'm going to go a little bit faster here, all right? This was the cover of a Time magazine article a few years ago. It was called the Me, Me, Me generation. And they're talking about millennials. Right? And this is, when I had this conversation with HSMAI, they were like, yep, that's what we're dealing with. And we had 2 student panelists who have since graduated from the school. And they both came up to me, they were there. They came up to me after the presentation and they're like, Miss Marta, can you please start presenting this in the classes? Because we had no idea that this is how other people saw us. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know you didn't know. I thought you knew, And so that's why I include it now in my Tiger Talent Development Professional Development Series, because I if you understood that, what I want you to do is prove them all wrong. Let's prove them wrong, because right now they're thinking you're entitled, you're job hoppers, you're easily distracted, and I apologize about that D there. You're praise seekers, and you're lazy. That's what this article talked about, all right? I'm telling them you're not this. But sometimes you do things innately that do come across that way, guys, all right? You get distracted by the Apple Watch or the phone during a meeting. You show up late to a class or to a meeting. People interpret that as laziness, like you can't get there a little bit, like being early is on time. You've heard that expression, right? So they're misinterpreting this behavior that you're exhibiting. It could be that really you have, a child care issue, or you have your car broke down or whatever. But it's all about communication. If you can just tell people that, I might need to take an important phone call during today's class, so if you don't mind, I'm going to excuse myself. from the room when I get that call. It's simple. If you did that, excuse yourself, now you're looking like someone who's professional and you're not trying to cause interruptions. You've communicated that with the instructor or the guest speaker or whoever. You're handling your business. You're professional. The truth is, yes.
The one thing that I've seen, and I'm not saying it with just millennials, but kind of going towards entitlement, you need to realize that even though you have your job description, that the only way that the hotel or the restaurant or the attraction is going to work is if it works as a team. So if you get tasked to do something that's outside your area, the words, "That's not my job,"
That's not my job.
is so detrimental to how people look at you, you know. And that you'll have older generations be like, "Oh, that's not my job," but you know, take that stand, show your passion, and say, "Yes, I will be more than happy to, you know, go in banquets and help turn a room."
That's a career killer is what it is. If your boss is here, you say that, and your team and your fellow teammates here, you say it's not my job. That's as good as saying I quit.
Because when the next big task, project, whatever promotion comes up, who am I gonna go to? The person who was willing to put themselves out there and get the job done and be a team player. Okay, that's just how the world works, guys. And so I just want you to be aware so that when you enter the workforce permanently, you're not making those kind of mistakes. But the truth is that every generation, right, has said that the generation that came after them is worse, like that there's an issue. So like the baby boomers like thought that, you know, Generation X was horrible. That was my generation. They were like, oh, you guys, they have so many issues with us, right? So I just don't want you to worry about what they're saying about you. I want you to focus on having your professional brand and overcoming all of those, what I'm saying are myths about who you are. According to Pew Research, millennials are the first to have higher levels of student debt, poverty, unemployment, and lower levels of wealth, personal income than any other generation at the same stage of life. That can be seen as pretty depressing. But if you know that, right, and you're like, no, that's not going to be me. It's about awareness, right? And you're going to go about it in a different way. The reality is it's not your fault that in 2007, 8, 9, there was a huge recession in our country, and that your parents could not put away as much money as they would have wanted to for your education. The country faced this recession, and you guys all of a sudden were having to self-fund your educations. That's what happened. Right? People were out of jobs, and they were losing their homes, and they were losing their cars, and so putting money away for college just was not even like an option. It was about keeping lights on and having a roof over their heads, right? Or your heads when you were younger. So that's not your fault that this is what's happening. Right? What I'm challenging you to do is change the myth to being resourceful, right? Show them how savvy you can be. Have a growth mindset, that continuing education. You're not going to stop. You're always going to do another training or expose yourself to another conference or network with another group, right? I'm asking you to be opportunistic, to take advantage of those opportunities. And opportunism can be misinterpreted too. Some people think that if you're opportunistic, you're taking advantage of someone else's, bad situation. So that's not what I'm telling you to do, all right? I'm telling you to be opportunistic in the positive way, that when opportunities present themselves, if you've prepared, then that's preparation plus opportunity equals success, guys. It's just how it works. Right? You are multitaskers. Of any generation, you guys can do the multitasking thing much better than anybody else. I am not good at it. And there's science that says multitasking doesn't necessarily work, but you guys can do it. And I've seen it in my student workers. Well, I'm like, hey, can you do this for me? And they're like, sure, Ms. Monte. and then they go right back to their tasks, right? And they just get it done. And I'm like, how did I do that? Because I would have had to write it down on my to-do list. I'll get to it later. I'm focused on this right now. You know what I mean? But you guys are good at this, all right? So keep up the good work, all right? You are the most tolerant generation out there. You are much more understanding of different racial identities, ethnic identities, gender identities. You understand the use of personal pronouns, right? If someone says, you know, my personal pronouns are she, hers, and her, or like I identify as binary, or what, like you guys get it. It's the older people that don't. And I love that you're so tolerant, all right? That's gonna make the world a better place, tolerance like that. You are praise seekers, but I have an asterisk there. Everybody is. Who doesn't do hard work and not like to receive some positive feedback for it? Like, if you work hard, it's nice to get that, like, well done, that kudos, that letter of acknowledgement, that thank you, all right? I mean, I know I worked tirelessly for the University of Memphis. When I received this award for customer service, I was like, yes. It made me feel good. So I feel like that's everybody. That's just not your generation. It's not fair to just call you praise seekers. Everyone is. Everyone feels good to be acknowledged. It's a positive thing, right? So when I think of your generation, I said, if only we can improve these soft skills, it's really gonna go a long way, okay? So the hard skills are all the tech stuff, you know, knowing how to manage a front desk, knowing the food and beverage operations, front or back of the house, that stuff, you guys know. You get it, you've been exposed to it, you've gotten the internship, you've been doing a part-time job doing it, you've got that down. It's the soft skills that are holding you back. So I'm gonna spend quite a bit of time now talking about these soft skills and how to improve them. And the first one is listening, okay? And it's about active listening. It's about being engaged, making that connection. When people are talking, giving them your full attention, making eye contact. And right now, this class is doing a phenomenal job of that. All right, I'm like connecting with you guys. We're into each other right now, and I love that. Because if you're zoning out, then I know you're disengaged, right? And then how do I continue to try to build this relationship and connect with you if you're just like, let me look at my phone, right? So listening, it's about active listening. Give the speaker your undivided attention. Take notes. When people are, you know, presenting information, or even in a meeting, if you're ever, you know, in an interview, I take notes. I do. I'm like, it keeps me, like, it's how I take information in. And I say that, if you don't mind, I'm going to take a few notes during this interview because it's going to help me process the information. And I've never had an issue with anyone saying, oh, no, you can't do that, right? Reserve judgment when you're listening. Stop thinking about the next thing that you're going to say back when someone's talking to you. Just listen. Stop. Because sometimes you're so in your head and in your feelings about stuff that it gets in the way of that relationship building, right? And be open to other people's opinions, which I can say, because you are a tolerant generation, you're doing an okay job on that part. Communicating. Communicate with courtesy, and when you're communicating, show confidence. So Amy in the video was like, well, like, I can't really, right? She was very ambiguous. Like, if you can't do something, don't commit to it. I had a student just the other day in a student association meeting. Ms. Marta, I'm not sure if I'm going to be, well, I'm going to try, but guys, yes or no, it's okay. Embrace the word no. If we learn how to say it early in life, we're going to have a easier time by the time you get to my age, right? If you can just learn to say no earlier, it's okay. It exists. I'm sorry, I can't do that, no. You know, it's okay. Back up your statements with facts. So if you say no and then give an explanation, like, I'm sorry I can't make it to that conference because I'm scheduled to be at work that day. But if the opportunity presents itself again, I'd love to be there. So you're leaving the door open, right, for a future opportunity. And now I'm not just like canceling you out for any opportunity that's, oh, they already said no to me once, I'm not going to give it to them again, right? So always leave the door open when you're communicating, right? Do your best to avoid all that tentative language, the mights, the maybes, the possiblities, and please don't use ASAP. right? Like ASAP in caps, it's as soon as possible. Like, someone tells me that, can you review my resume ASAP? I'm not receiving that well. I'm just letting you know. Like, suddenly I'm putting you to the bottom of the list, okay? So, when you're improving your soft skills, you really have to be attentive of your non-verbal communication, all right? I'm not gonna label the look on her face. You guys know what you call that, all right? All right? Be careful about that. And literally, if you've got to practice in the mirror to control that, find out how you're going to do it. It's okay. Get to know yourself. You know, get in the mirror and be like, how do I control it when I'm really annoyed when someone says or does something? I know me, my nostrils will flare. Like I'm like, and I'm like game on. You've messed with the wrong sister, right? And I get angry, but I have to control that because that's not professional. So I want you to be able to control your nonverbal communication and understand that you're communicating a lot in your eyes, guys. Like some people, it's like the eye roll. Okay? You know you've done it. Sometimes it's sucking teeth. Right? Be careful about that stuff. Maintaining good posture definitely projects confidence. So if you're like this all the time, walking around, that's not confident. You want to stand tall. That's part of nonverbal communication. And avoid gestures that distract or convey disinterest. So for some people, it's like doing this to your hair the whole time. Like it's a nervous tick, right? Let's just let the hair go. Other people, it's clicking the pen. That's a distraction to some people, right? Or tapping the pen. So control that kind of behavior, right? And you know not to do that. Right? So delivering bad news. Guys, let's just keep it real. Conflict is a part of life. You're gonna have to learn how to deal with conflict. Whether it's in your personal life, in your professional life, it's gonna happen. So at some point, you're gonna have to deliver bad news. It's okay. Just learn how to do it. It's better to deliver the bad news in person instead of an email or text. Why? Why? You can't see emotions. Yeah. It can be misunderstood, right?
More genuine.
It's much more genuine. You can't hear tone of voice in that. You can't read body language in that. So if you have to deliver bad news, the best way to do it is in person. If you can't do it in person, pick up the phone and call, because at least you can hear tone of voice in a phone call. If you're delivering bad news in an email or text, I think you could do better than that. Take responsibility. So if you, like, my mistake, my bad, it's okay to make mistakes, guys. No one's asking you to be perfect. That person does not exist. So if you have erred, own that mistake. Take responsibility for it. I've made mistakes, and for some of you, I've probably made mistakes, and I'll say it, like, oh, I'm so sorry, I did not see this in my queue, or I got caught up in the meeting. Just yesterday, I was running 5 minutes late to a student appointment because I was at an employee relations appointment. Now, I wasn't just like late, oh, come on, let's go. No, I explained myself. I'm so sorry I was late. I was tied up at, literally Crosstown Arts downtown. They're coming to our career fair and they're offering internships, and I wanted to lock that deal. I'm so excited. And I let the student know why I was late. I wanted to respect their time, and then I gave her extra time. I wasn't like, okay, your appointment's up, gotta go. No, I gave her the extra time. So when you make a mistake, just do your best to fix it. Right? Be as honest as possible, and give others an opportunity to respond and discuss how the bad news that you delivered affects them. All right? It's not just like, oh no, yeah, I can't. I know I said I was gonna come to your, even if it's a social event. I was gonna come to your party, I'm sorry I couldn't make it. Like, they may have paid for your plate, your meal. Let them express how that made them feel. Guys, they have a right to do that, especially if you're trying to preserve that relationship. social or professional. When you're improving soft skills, I want to talk a lot more about saying no, how to do it appropriately, and just the sooner you learn how to say no professionally, the easier it's going to be. So empathy expresses that you understand the situation. It's not just, nah, I can't do that. It's, I'm sorry, like, no, I apologize, I'm not able to do this, and you explain yourself, all right? It doesn't have to be a long explanation. You're not telling your life story, you're just stating the facts, all right? Explain your perspective, your rationale, and end the conversation on a positive note. So like I gave the previous example, oh, I'm sorry I can't make it to that conference. Thanks for inviting me. I'm scheduled to work that day, but if the opportunity presents itself again, please let me know. Or, is it okay if I tell my friend about this conference or this opportunity? I can't go, but I know someone else who might, be a great fit for this. Like, offer a solution. Don't just leave the person hanging there when you said no, especially if you do have a strong network, whether it's fraternity, sorority, like whatever, honor society connections, students in your class. Every employer is trying to figure out how to connect with your age group right now. And so when you flat out say no, it's sort of like, goodness, how do I reach these kids? That's what they're saying to me. So I'm just giving you the honest feedback that I'm hearing. Okay? By all means, avoid unfulfilled promises. So I learned this new term just today. Who knows what ghosting is? All right, can you define that for the class? Ghosting?
It's pretty much when someone like breaks all contact.
Yeah. So you just break all contact, like you, say you've been like going back and forth in a text message, right? And then all of a sudden, like, the person just drops off the face of the earth. You don't even know what's going on, and you're like, hey, there's a term for that now. I didn't know. And they've invented this term because that's a new practice that has become common. So what is happening? Students are even ghosting on job interviews. They applied for a job, they changed their mind, something else came along, they're no longer interested, and they're not even having the decency to say to the employer or email them and say, I'm sorry, I'm no longer interested in this opportunity, or even saying thank you for the opportunity, but another opportunity has presented itself that fits within the timeline of which I was seeking to be hired. Then it makes the employer know, at least, they were professional about it. But you guys are just be like, all right, they didn't get back to me, I got this, and I'm moving on. So now what are employers doing? They're treating you how you've been treating them. And you're applying for things and never hearing from them. So it's kind of like karma, right? If you don't want them to do that to you, then don't do that to them in the first place. Did not know this. Did you guys know about this term, ghosting? Yeah, whole new thing. I was like, what? I need to use it. Negotiating. When you're negotiating, and this is key, especially as you're meeting these employers at the career fair, and you're going to start talking about internships and how many hours you're available to work and all that. Oh, before you go into a negotiation, consider the other person's viewpoint. What do I need to do to make this a win-win scenario, right? I get that you need someone there X number of hours a week. I'm only available these weeks, or can I switch, can we negotiate? Can we figure it out so that it's a win-win for both of us? It's not all about you. They have needs too that need to be met. So be prepared to offer several options when negotiating. So you have like your ideal scenario, and then you have your, okay, I think I can do this. Let's see if this will work. And then you have another one. You don't just go in with one plan. All right. I like to say that's why there are many letters of an alphabet. All right. So there's plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. All right. So you might have to go down to E before you work it out. But be willing to that. Be open to that process. Again, the active listening is key when you're negotiating. Absolutely key. And I'll give you an example of how this worked really well. I had a student who went for an internship. She thought that it was going to be a higher per pay, hourly pay. Right? And this internship is gonna lead to a part-time job. That's how they sold it to her. Right? Then when they put the job offer in front of her, it was about $3 less per hour than what she thought, what they had said. Had she not been listening to the needs of that employer during the interview, she wouldn't have been able to remind them that, hey, I have this technological skill. I know how to edit game film for you. I know the software already. So she said that. She was like, she called me and I was like, okay, this is what you're gonna say. And we worked through it, but we remembered that they really needed someone with her skill set. So when she negotiated, she said, well, I'm willing to accept it at this offer, provided that after 3 months, you do an evaluation of my work. And if you're satisfied, you offer me a permanent position. Hey, it worked. She knew she had the skill set, and what did she do when she got in there? Knocked it out the park, did an amazing job. They were like, we can't afford to give her, let's give her what she needs. But if you're not listening through that process, you can't even remind them what it is that makes you so great that they need. So the active listening is key. Offer alternatives to demonstrate that you're a team player. So she actually, came up with a really good alternative in that situation. Like, okay, you'll take it at this price for this amount of time, and after which, if you have to part ways, it's okay. But if they want you, they're gonna have to, increase your hourly rate. When you're improving your soft skills, you really need to connect with employees and colleagues. I remember it's a team effort. Teamwork and collaboration is a real competency that you have to develop, right? So learn people's names. Like, how would Shiron feel if, we've met 1,000 times, right? And I still don't know her name. Or Ian, or Shin, right? Like, how would who am I if I can't remember names after meeting with people? So figure it out, guys. Figure out how you're gonna remember people's names, right? Show an interest in employees' lives. Someone just had a baby, hey, how's the baby? Someone just got married, someone, whatever. They got a new car, how's the new ride? Show that you have an interest in other people, that it's not, that you're not so wrapped up all in you. All right. I had a student, just had a baby. I was like, hey, here's a box of diapers for your kid. I can understand that you're facing a whole bunch of stuff. And that student was like, whoa, it wasn't hard for me to do that. It was quite simple. These are little things you can do to connect with other people. Express appreciation and recognize contributions, and make your colleagues feel important. All right, a very easy way to do this is on LinkedIn, guys. If you are working in an organization and that relationship is going really well, go on LinkedIn and endorse them. Go ahead and give them a recommendation on LinkedIn. That will sit on their LinkedIn forever unless they decide to delete it. Right? But who's not going to like to receive that praise, that accolade, right? So these are little ways that you can connect, because a lot of you are really cool with connecting behind a screen. So do that. It's a little bit more challenging when you have to look someone in the eye and connect, right? But if the platform that you're comfortable with is there, go ahead and endorse people on LinkedIn. You should be endorsing each other now on LinkedIn. If someone's on a team project with you and they're doing an awesome job, yeah, let me write a recommendation for this, classmate on LinkedIn. You might be dealing with that person, or that person, you might be hiring that person later on down the road. You might be negotiating a contract. I would be doing a whole lot of LinkedIn connections right now if I were you, sitting in your seat, okay? Criticism. You're gonna have an opinion. It's going to differ. Remember, conflict is a part of life. So when you have to criticize, make sure it's constructive criticism. But do it also in private. Right? Just say an employee of yours is, always forgetting to clear tables, or it's always forgetting to offer the survey option. Have that conversation in private. I think and you could sandwich it, right? Have you heard of the sandwich approach? Do you guys
reinforcement, some criticism,
Yeah.
and you spin into something positive.
Yeah. So if you just go in like, I'm tired of you forgetting to offer the upsell every time at the register, you need to fix that. I'm not gonna receive that well. But if you're like, I love how you're so positive with our customers, I really think it would help us out if you offered the survey option. You know, we love having you on the team. That's gonna be received a lot better, guys. So use the tools that have been proven to work effectively. You don't have to reinvent the wheel there, all right? Don't point fingers and don't sugarcoat. What happens if you sugarcoat something too much?
The effect of what you're trying to say goes out the window.
All right, I don't know if everyone else heard you. Can you say louder?
Essentially, if you sugarcoat code too much, some people may not receive
Yeah.
the seriousness of the matter.
Yeah. They're like, they just don't even think there was a problem because you were so nice about it. Okay? You guys are the future managers of your industry. You're going to have employees mess up. But you're going to have to know how to give constructive criticism in an effective way, or else you're going to have employees keep making the same mistake over and over and over and over again. And then how does that affect your team? How does it affect your operation? How does it affect your performance review? All because you felt like you had to be nice. And there's a way to, and some of you have heard it from me, and I, you know, in a meeting, where I'm like, okay, I prefer that you don't do it this way because this is how it's interpreted. All right? There's a way to do things firmly where the message gets through, and you're still civil. It's not a personal attack. So on the flip side of that, when you're receiving constructive criticism, don't get caught up in your feelings, guys. Oh, Miss Marta told me that my resume couldn't be. Okay, like it's not a personal attack on you. All right, don't get caught up in your feelings. And I do say that this age group, like you guys take things a little bit too personally sometimes. All right, know that again, I have your best interests at heart. So do all the faculty and staff here. All right, they work tirelessly on like making you guys shine and helping you out, like and all the extra effort that goes in. No one's trying to, you know, defeat, like to, I don't know, what's the right word here? Like, we're not trying to tear you up, guys. Your success is our success.
Right, and if I could, when they're giving you constructive criticism or giving you feedback, that shows that they care. A lot of bosses and future, you know, people you'll be dealing with, they don't care. They're just going to write you off. They're not going to give you any feedback. So take that as a positive.
Yeah. So when you are giving constructive criticism, again, be specific about the behavior that you want changed. Okay? So let's say a staff member of yours is notoriously on their cell phone, but yet you never use the word phone in your conversation. And you always say things like, I really need you to pay attention on the floor. Well, maybe they think they're fine multitaskers and they're doing it all. You gotta bring up the issue at hand, okay? I need you to put your cell phone in your locker when you're on the floor. If you're expecting an important phone call, just let me know and I'll, you know, make sure that the message gets to you. You have to address the issue in a constructive manner or the behavior will continue. Right? Ask for the person's input so that they feel they're part of the solution. So, easy way to do this, what do you think we can do to make this situation better? Easy way to do it. They'll pose options, all right, hopefully. And if not, agree, why don't we check back with each other in a few days? I'm gonna put you on my calendar so that we can pick up on this conversation. You don't always have to have the answer right away. I know we live in a kind of an immediate society where we want things now, right? It's gotta happen now. Miss Marta, can you look at this calendar now? I need it for tomorrow. No, it doesn't happen like that, okay? So, slow it down. If you can't come to an agreement or come up with a solution, agree to check back in later. It's okay to buy a little bit of time to clear your thoughts, to sleep on a decision, all right? It's very normal, guys. Don't feel like you always have to be so immediate. You're gonna have difficult employees. Don't delay in dealing with them. Why don't you wanna delay when you're dealing with your difficult employees? Yeah.
The snowball effect. They become worse, and by the time you would have had a small problem, you have a giant out of control
Yeah.
mess on your hands.
And your employees, your other employees who are good, will start reading your, I guess, ineffective handling of the problem as like, well, if they don't care about so-and-so being late, that means I could come here 5 minutes late. And yet, you need your team to be there on time. So don't delay when you're dealing with someone who's posing issues for your team. And rely on documented information when pointing out acceptable behavior. A lot of people get lazy about documenting, writing people up. And then it comes time to fire them, and HR is like, where are the documents? Where's the written record? So you have to be willing to write it all down so you have that paper trail so that you can handle that difficult employee. You're going to have difficult employees in this industry, guys. I haven't worked in any F&B setting or management setting where there hasn't been one person who's been a pain. All right? You're gonna have to learn how to deal with those people. All right? Implement a plan for correcting the behavior. And sometimes you have to put that plan in writing. Like in 1 week's time, we need to be able to say that you've done this, in 2 weeks' time, this. You have to be very detailed. And if they don't meet those expectations, guess what you get to do later? You write them up and then you let them go, right? Because they didn't agree to the terms that you guys set. So you have to be willing to do this work. And then follow up regularly and ensure a positive change, right? Because if you don't follow up, what impression does that employee have?
That they can get away with it.
They're gonna get away with it?
That you don't really care.
That you don't care. You guys both hit the nail on the head, right? That's what happens. Oh, they never said it to me again, so I thought it wasn't an issue anymore. Meanwhile, you're like looking at the person like, and looking at the clock and looking at the person and kind of realizing you speak with your eyes and they're not getting it. Address it head on, right? You have to follow up. By all means, maintain professionalism, right? So you have to have clear boundaries, especially if you work with friends, right? Like I have colleagues here that are not friends with me on Facebook. Clear boundaries, okay? We can be connected on LinkedIn. That's okay. Right? Like I have never been in a situation where I've gone to have like a cocktail with someone who reported to me. That's blurring the lines there. Right? So don't do it. And in hospitality especially, like a lot of this goes on and like we're trying to like the shift is over at 2 a.m. and we're like, let's go grab drinks. And I'm like, no, not with the wait staff. You know, I'll go out with a fellow manager maybe, but I'm not gonna go out with a subordinate. You have to have clear boundaries. Right? Be fair to all subordinates regardless of friendships, or who you knew first, or who you knew longer, right? You gotta treat all your staff equally, right? Because if you don't, they're gonna be like, oh, they play favorites, and then next thing you know, they're gonna be complaining about you to your boss. So if you have those clear boundaries set, you're really preventing a lot of problems, right? Avoid all the special treatments and favors. So, great example, if I get, Ashley, who's my Tiger Talent Ambassador for Kevin Wilson School, a cup of coffee, you better rest assured that when I see Corinne the next time in the arts, I'm getting her a cup of coffee too, all right? It's like, if I'm gonna do something nice, I'm gonna do it nice for both of you. Maybe not on the same day, because I don't see you both the same day. But you have to treat your employees fairly. Change. It's a part of life. So you have to be willing to manage change, guys. So give employees the opportunity to share their thoughts when things are going on, okay? They're correcting the behavior, they're still having an issue. You have to be open to having those conversations. But it really does make a difference when you focus on the positive. And it's as simple as, I like the way that you did blank. I love the way that you handled that customer complaint on the phone. I love the way that you made that little girl feel special on her birthday when she came into the restaurant. It's little things that you can do so that your staff focuses more on the positive things that they're doing than being all caught up in their feelings and thinking about all the stuff that they do wrong. Because I have had students come and after working at certain of our companies that we have connections with, I feel like I can't do anything right there. Well, are you only focusing on what you're doing wrong? Maybe you should just start reminding yourself of all the stuff that you're doing right. All right? It's like that negative energy. If you put negative energy out there, that's what you're going to get. All right? So if you're more positive about the approach, then you'll probably start feeling and hearing more positive feedback. Remain available to answer questions. So when change is happening, and change is difficult, like there's a hotel right now that's going through a renovation, and it is shaking up the operation. And I hear stories about that hotel right now. Guys, you have to figure it out. Yeah, housekeeping is taking a little bit longer because their supplies are in another room now. You know, figure it out, work through that. Have the conversation and be ready to answer the questions, like especially if a guest is saying, hey, why did the towels take so long? If you explain to the guest, I'm sorry, our renovation right now is delaying our process. We typically handle these calls in 5 minutes, and we've noticed that lately it's taking us 10. They're gonna hear you. They might want coupon or something, a discount for the wait, but you have to embrace that and manage that change. Okay. Resistance, it's everywhere. You're gonna have employees who are resistant to change. But we always did it this way. I've heard that, I can't tell you how many times at this university, but we've always done it this way. Well, I haven't always worked at this university, and I'm trying to do things a little bit differently. It's okay, have the conversation, be graceful, and just focus on the issue. Well, the problem remains that this is going on, and there's a delay in getting back to our students. How about we just try this for a little bit of time and see if it works? You have to remain non-confrontational, right? Pick your battles. Not everything's a fight, right? And I'm saying that out loud to myself too, because I'm ready to fight about everything sometimes. It can be feisty, but I have to remind myself, not everything's a battle for me. Take a step back. Take responsibility if you contributed to the issue. That's a part of self-awareness and personal behavior, right? Ask for help in coming to a resolution. Again, that question, what do you think we should do differently? Some people have great ideas, some people don't. But you gotta hear them to see what's out there, okay? And remember that it's not personal. It's not because of you. It's usually a systematic issue that's taking place, and you just happen to be the manager on duty that has to deal with that systematic issue. Dealing with complaints, people complain all the time. It's part of your industry especially. Oh, my steak was not, medium well. You're gonna have that customer that complains. So set the example. You don't wanna be the person like, I know, right? Our chef always gets this wrong. I went to a restaurant where they said that to me and I was like, what? No, it's not what you say. I thought it to myself, I didn't say that to the surveyor. It was a bit out there. Like, you don't want to mess up the brand of the company that you're working for. All right? So set the example by not complaining about yourself. questions to turn them into part of the solution. It's a little bit challenging sometimes with customers who are really upset because their feelings are so like heightened, right? So sometimes you just have to take a step back, do your little breathing exercise, get a manager involved. That's what they get paid for. It's okay. Establish a rule that you can't complain unless a possible solution is offered. This is my policy with my student workers, to be honest with you. They're not allowed to complain about something unless they have a solution to the problem. Because they know now, like, I'll say to them, okay, I know this is a problem, what should we do about it? So now, it's sort of like, they come to me and they're like, well, I was thinking, Miss Marta, this keeps happening and can we do this? Now let's talk. Right? So you can do the same thing with your staff, and I find that it's a really effective tool, right? Because you can train and condition your staff to be problem solvers, and problem solvers are what we need. We need people who are critical thinkers and problem solvers to face the challenges of our industry and keep our guests happy. Practice good manners. I'm starting to sound like your mother right now, right? All right, but practice your manners. Respect people's time. Be early for meetings. If you're late, apologize. Don't use the speaker phone when you're speaking to people unless it's necessary, right? You shouldn't be walking down a hotel corridor or in the lobby of a restaurant, right? And you're on your speaker phone. That's a private conversation. Excuse yourself. Don't interrupt people when speaking, and I get so excited about like having the conversation that even I have to say, oh, Marta, calm down, you know. I have to check myself, especially with Tim. I'm sorry that I do that so much. Be sure to say please and thank you. It's simple, basic stuff, but we're forgetting that sometimes because we're so stressed at our jobs, because there's so many demands, because the information is constant. And we're forgetting the basic social skills that we develop literally in preschool, because this is stuff we learned in preschool, y'all. And we're just forgetting it. Okay? So, when you're communicating, professional communication takes the shape, like it's more than just what you're saying. It's your handshake, right? Firm, not too firm. Eye contact, the smile. It's the remembering the names. It's the active listening. In order to network effectively, you really need to follow these steps, okay? You have to first assess yourself, determine the purpose of the relationship that you're trying to build, identify sources for gaining this network, and take time to prepare your elevator speech. I know I just jumped and segued because if you're practicing all the soft skills, now we're getting to the point where you're going to use those soft skills to network and build your network. It's going to happen over time. So when you assess yourself, you have to assess your own career goals. You have to assess the skills that you possess, what fits your personality, what interests you professionally, and what values are important for you. I can't answer those questions for you. Some students come into my office and they're like, Miss Marta, I don't know what I want to do. I don't have a magic, ball, a crystal ball to know what you want to do either. Okay? Like, have you tried any internships? Have you tried a job shadow anywhere? Have you done an informational interview with someone who has a job that you think is interesting? Right? You have to do that assessment, guys. I can't do that work for you. And I say this, I hope kind-heartedly, but like I wish I could answer all these questions for you, but you've got to be willing to do this for yourself. Okay? This is work that you've got to put in now to have the career that you hope to have in the future. Okay? Gather the information. So when you're determining the purpose of your networking, right? You have to gather the information about the careers that you're exploring, obtain advice about job searches. So that's where I can come in. Like, I had a student yesterday come into my office, was applying for a lot of full-time positions on Indeed, wasn't getting any feedback. I'm like, no, you want to go to hcareers.com or you want to go to LinkedIn. And forget about Indeed. Because a lot of people, how many people apply for jobs on Indeed? You're like buried in a list of people who are also applying. But H Careers is all hospitality careers. They're looking for people with your degree. So that would be a better site for you. But she didn't know that. And so when she came to obtain advice on her job search, we could have that conversation. But by then she knew what she was looking for, what industry she was looking for, particularly what corporation she was looking for. I was pretty impressed by that, right? You have to get job leads. And again, if you're not networking with other people, how do you know that this hotel has an opening for events? That's how it works, guys. It's not that you're always gonna find it on their website. Sometimes if they know your skill set, they'll create a job for you because they know you have so much to offer. I wanna keep this person. We gotta figure this out for this person. We don't wanna lose this value on our team. Start now to develop professional contacts for the future. How do you do that? How do you start developing your professional contacts for the future? What are some things you can do now?
Classmates.
Classmates, so a lot of you are working in the industry already, all right? It's actually worked out quite nicely for me because we're trying to find auction items. And I was like, oh, you work at Folks Folly? Can we talk? I need an auction prize for them, right? So it's about the network, right? What's another thing you can do right now to develop your contacts for the future? All right, LinkedIn. You're linking in with each other. You're linking in with your professors. You're looking at their network. A guest speaker comes. What are you going to do? All right, you're going to link in with them after their presentation. And it's as simple as you connect with them. You write that little note. It was a pleasure having you in my class yesterday. I learned so much about your blah, blah, blah. Hope to stay connected. It's that simple, guys. It's not hard to do. It's about commitment. You'll probably hear Professor Flores say this, less time on Snapchat, less time on Instagram. I know you guys don't use Facebook because that's for old people. But more time on LinkedIn. Right? I did not have a LinkedIn account when I came here. I took the job, I didn't have a LinkedIn account. That was my weakness in my interview. They were like, what do you think your weaknesses are? I was like, the fact that I don't do social media. And I understand that this age group identifies with social media, so I'm gonna have to work through that. But I'm willing to develop a LinkedIn profile. And literally every day, I spent a few minutes on LinkedIn and I connected with 5 more people and connected with 5 more people. And every day was like at least 5 more people that I was writing that little note to. And now I have that coveted 500 plus number where you don't really know how many connections I have. All right, I'm probably somewhere in the 900, maybe 800 something now, okay? Every day, just 5 more people. And if you're linking in with every guest speaker that we have in this school, your network's gonna be pretty deep. Okay, because we have a lot of guests that come into this program. Right? So those are ways you can do it. You have to develop your elevator pitch. This takes practice. You don't always get it right the first time. The more you do it, the more natural it's gonna feel, all right? So, it's an abbreviated introduction of yourself, which takes about 10 to 30 seconds max. You're not giving them your whole life story in that first introduction, all right? You smile, you shake hands, you introduce yourself by name, by major, in some classes by school. Maybe you say, I'm a junior, and your involvement areas, right? Oh, I'm a junior at the Cummins Wilson School, and I'm also a member of HSMAI, the student chapter. I know that you're a part of that organization as well. Great intro. Oh, let's talk about that. We have something in common. Identify career interests and briefly summarize any experience or research or internship. So that HSMAI connection, that's a way to do that. It doesn't always have to be research or internships. And state the purpose of your conversation. I actually think that the best way to do a good elevator pitch is to end it with a question. Why? If you end an elevator pitch, you introduce yourself. and it ends with a question, what does it do? I know you know the answer. Yeah, it leads to a real conversation. If you ask a question, I'm not gonna be, all right, nice to meet you. That's rude, right? I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna answer your question and I'm gonna connect with you, all right? And for a lot of you at the career fair, your question is, what advice would you give to a senior in hospitality? Or what advice would you give to whatever you are? That's your question at the career fair. It's an easy one. And people love to give younger people sound advice. Because it's sort of like, learn from my mistakes, kid, don't do the same thing I did, right? That's what they're gonna do. So your elevator pitch a good one is gonna end in a question to keep the conversation going. Now I'm gonna give you an example of one that's way too long. All right, so take out your phones if you have it. All right, open up your timer. I'm gonna try to not get tongue-tied on this one. All right, family, tell me when to go. Good afternoon, Dr. Jones. My name is Joy Smith. I'm a senior biomedical engineering major at the University of Memphis, where I'll graduate in May 2017. Currently, I serve as president of the Biomedical Research Association and vice president of the Society of Women Engineers. Recently, I completed an internship with Wright Medical, a local medical device company. I'm interested in learning more about job opportunities in the biomedical field. What advice would you give a student looking to enter your career field? Stop. How much time?
28.84.
Say it again.
28.84.
So I barely got it in under that 30-second mark. All right, guys, I've read this at least 15, 18 times before, okay? And I think that's too long. Okay? It's too long. It's kind of giving them too much at the beginning. So now, let's think critically here. What do they absolutely need to hear? Your name, yes. What else?
Senior biomedical engineering.
Senior biomedical engineering major. What else should they absolutely hear?
The internship, because of the bowl. I'm guessing the internship because of the
No, don't go by what's bold up there. That's not the answer. What else? When you graduate, so that they know when you might be ready to join their organization, right? And what's the last thing that they should absolutely hear?
The question.
The question. So that little middle part, or I completed an internship, that might come up as the next part of the conversation,
Or cover letter.
right? Or a cover letter, that's pretty good. Your elevator pitch will be used in multiple mediums. You're gonna say it. It might be used in a LinkedIn message when you're connecting with someone. It might be used in a cover letter. It might be used in an email you send someone. Don't think that your elevator pitch and creating a good one is only gonna be used verbally. In some ways, you're gonna write your elevator pitch and put it out there, especially in LinkedIn. Hi, I'm a senior at the Cummins Wilson School. It was great having you in my distinguished speakers class last Thursday. I would love to stay connected and hear more about what advice you would give to a senior, pursuing this industry. Simple, to the point. How long was that? Not even 10 seconds? Okay. So this is stuff, now we don't have a lot of time to do this in this class today, but I'm gonna give this to you. And maybe in the future, Professor Ford, you guys can review your elevator pitches, okay? So just take one, pass it down.
Maybe get those next week.
Next week? Okay. And I'm gonna leave some extra copies with you. I'm sorry, camera, I'm giving you extra copies, see? Just to clarify for you, when you're working on this worksheet, you see where it says general script example in the left column at the bottom, and they're all these kind of fill in the blanks? You see that, guys? Yes, no, nod your head. All right. So are you gonna answer all of those? No, why not? It's gonna be way too long. So pick the ones that speak to you. And when you're crafting your elevator pitch, if you get tongue-tied on any words, change those words. All right? You have to change it up. Like when I first took this position, I was called a career development specialist. And I had to add that title to my pitch. And I'm so happy now that I'm just a career specialist. Because I was getting tongue-tied, literally. So you might have to edit this over time until it feels really natural to you. And always go into delivering your pitch with your audience in mind. So I can't give the same pitch that I give to students that I give to employers, or that I give when I'm trying to convince someone to become a Girl Scout volunteer, right? It's a different pitch, guys. So the same way you're creating a targeted resume or a targeted cover letter, you're creating a targeted elevator pitch with your specific audience in mind, right? So be careful there, because some people will just want to copy paste because that's easy, right? But copy paste doesn't always apply. So you're going to fill out this worksheet on your own and work on it, and next week, can they practice their elevator pitches? All right, that's going to be great. And give each other constructive criticism. And don't just be like, oh, that was awful. That was too long. No, you're going to tell them the good things that you heard first. I like the way that you pronounced your name slowly, because you have you might have a challenging name to say. And then tell them something that they can work on. And then tell them something else. Sandwich your approach. Practice all those soft skills that we talked about when you review each other's and critique each other's elevator pitches, okay? Now, when you're pitching your brand on social media, and I don't know if I'm going to get this in the next 15 minutes, but we're going to try, all right? There are many platforms to build your online network. By far, LinkedIn in your professional world is the most important one. But believe it or not, your age group can even build your professional network on Snapchat. It's what you guys are using, all right? But just make sure that you screenshot the screen or something so you can keep it somehow, because it'll just go away in that conversation. So, LinkedIn must-haves. You must have a professional profile picture. It's not you all right? It's professional. You're dressed professionally. It's your brand. All right? What's the easiest way to get a professional headshot?
Attend the career fair, 200.
Attend. That was pretty funny. Come to the career fair, guys. Anyone in Cummins Wilson School, if you come to the career fair and complete the survey, we're going to say, here's your ticket to go get a headshot. And we're going to have someone with the camera and the professional lighting, and they're going to give you, by the end of the week of the career fair, an unedited picture. You can go on any program you use, any app, edit it, fill in your cheeks, whatever you want to do, okay? And then use that edited photo on your LinkedIn profile. If you have a professional headshot on your LinkedIn, more people are likely to accept your request. If all they see is your initial and that silhouette, that gray silhouette person that they have on LinkedIn, they're like, who is this? I don't know this person. Is this a scam? I don't know. Right? So have a professional photo. Your profile headline is a must. Your professional summary, your education, your experience, your skills, and definitely start building those recommendations and endorsements. What's an easy way to start doing that, guys? The endorsements and recommendations. She did this. Yeah, do it for each other. Okay? You guys have group projects here. You know each other in this school quite well. All right? If you're willing to endorse someone, all right, you're building that for them now, and maybe they'll return the favor. Okay? It's gonna make you much more marketable when you start going for that full-time job later on. Okay. Yes?
And if, this is kind of old school, if you are working in the industry, if you're working at a hotel or a restaurant, and you get a comment card, get a copy of it. When I applied to the Peabody, I brought out, I have my little portfolio thing. I brought out comment cards. I brought out thank you cards from previous people from previous guests I knew back in California at the hotel that I used to work at. You know, comment cards. Those are a great way to show how well you do your job. So like I said, if you get a comment card from your company, keep it. Throw it out in an interview. I don't see why there should be any problem with it.
So here's something I do, like literally right now, if you open my Outlook, you would see a file called kudos in caps. And every thank you, or, you know, you did such a great job or whatever, or I so appreciate how my resume looks right now, I put that in my kudos folder. And it serves two purposes. One, when I have to go for my performance evaluation, right? I look back at that and be like, this many students thanked me for my hard work, right? And another thing is on those really tough days where I'm like, oh, this job is, I look back at that folder and it drives me. I'm like, look at how many people appreciate the work that I do. All right. So that's an easy thing that you can do now. And even when employers are like, oh, I love the student you just sent me, we can't wait, they're gonna be offered, I keep that in my kudos folder too. Okay. So that's something you can start doing. Anytime a peer thanks you for some awesome Prezi or PowerPoint that you did, or you know, a professor acknowledges a spectacular job on some research project you did, create your kudos folder. Have that in there, and then when you have to reflect back on the things that you do great in preparation for a job interview, review that as part of your job interview prep, right? Little things you can do now, things that I wish someone had told me when I was younger, because I'd have many more files, okay, but I didn't always keep that, right? So I'm gonna share my LinkedIn profile. How many of you are connected with me on LinkedIn? So you're gonna do that in this class. You're gonna develop your LinkedIn profile. When you do, please connect with me, right? So this is always fun trying to remember my password. Let's see if I get it right. I'm not saying that you have to do it like I do. I'm not gonna even pretend to be a LinkedIn pro. I'm still learning how to use this platform effectively. I think I've caught on to a few things though. So I'm gonna point those things out to you, all right? Professional headshot is the first thing. And I love whoever photoshopped this picture of me, thank you out there. I have my title, where I work, and where I am. Okay, that's gonna help. Because employers are gonna know, okay, where are you trying to work, or where am I trying to relocate you from, right? I'm gonna come back to this section here, because I'll tell you how this section came about. After filling in my experience, and it was my choice to just put my experience in just by title, how long I've been there, the logo of the company. I didn't put all the bullet points that were in that job that I put on my resume. That's a choice I made because if I was creating a targeted resume for another job, I didn't want them to think that I could only do the things that were in those bullet points. Now, mind you, I'm a little older than you guys are. So that's why I did that way, okay? You, because you're young in your careers and starting out, you might want to put all of the bullet points, right? Now you're gonna see a career evolution here, all right? Rest assured that I had a job before 2003, all right? I didn't put those jobs on. I didn't wanna make myself sound older, okay? Because remember, I'm a little bit older than you guys. So I didn't wanna go too far back. I was a teacher in New York City. I helped open a charter school. I've done quite a few things before I started this job. All right? But when I took this position, I knew I was working in hospitality, so I focused in more on my hospitality positions. So again, targeted resume, targeted cover letter, targeted elevator pitch, targeted LinkedIn profile. Here I was director of special events. Why? Because that is hospitality related. Special events, definitely up there. I was an instructor at Drexel University. All right. In what division? You might need to ask me a few more questions about that because I didn't put that on here. All right. I helped open a charter school. Now you'll see in my profile, people might start asking me, well, why did you go from this to this? I have a very reasonable explanation. Child. I started taking more part-time positions because I wanted to be home with my kid, all right? But I can explain that. And then I go on to this career specialist role. That was my choice to not put all the bullet points in every job that I've ever done on LinkedIn. I don't have KIPP Academy on there. I don't have Teach for America on there. There are a lot of things that I can add on there that would probably boost my profile. But right now, I'm not trying to be an elementary school teacher, or a middle school teacher, or a high school teacher. Because if the minute I put that on my LinkedIn profile, guess what jobs are going to start coming? All the teaching positions. And I don't want those, so I'm not putting that on my LinkedIn profile. So be careful. If you're not going for food and beverage, don't put all your food and beverage jobs, because that's what it's going to feed you over time. All right, I definitely have my education there. I chose to put my high school, partially because I don't put my high school on my resume, and also my high school is well connected. So people will connect with me because I went to a prep school, and my peers from my class are doing some pretty cool things right now, so it's kind of cool to be connected with them, right? And then I have my volunteer experience here. I love the branding on this. You literally you start typing things in and they'll have a logo for the university. And all of these things, I didn't have to upload a single one. I uploaded the Landenberg Christian Academy one. All the others came up on their own. So use that as you're creating your professional package, right? Just accept what LinkedIn is going to feed you, all right? And then down here, the skills and endorsements. Some people go crazy and they put like 20-something skills and endorsements. I'm like, no, I don't need to do that. I just limited it to, I think, 5. And that's what I'm asking people for endorsements in. But more important than the endorsements, I love having these recommendations. All right? They live there forever until I say I want to delete it. And so the cool thing here is the first recommendation I ever received was from a student. I wasn't even expecting that. But now as I go into higher education and pursue my career in higher education, what does it say to them that students, or some students and a faculty person, a representative, is giving me a recommendation? It's like, oh wow, she works well in higher academia. That's good. But don't be the person that just has received recommendations and hasn't given any. You have to be willing to give and take, guys. And so I've given to colleagues, I've given to students who I've worked closely with on special projects, okay? I've even given one to a doctor who I think is phenomenal. She was like a personal physician of mine back in Philly. I think this woman is phenomenal. I was like, I'm giving her a LinkedIn recommendation. That's how great I think she is, all right? You don't put your name on everybody, guys. You are selective. You're very selective. Why? Because you're protecting your personal brand. You get to be picky here for good reason. All right? So now, after I actually put in all of my experience, I started following companies and people. And this is key for me, all right? Now, my companies and people are a bit more diverse than my personal taste, because I'm trying to keep abreast of what all my students are interested in, right? So I have students in sports, I have students in arts, I have students in hospitality. So when you look at the companies I'm following a lot. I'm following Marriott International, I'm following my university, I'm following IHG, Higher Ed, American for the Arts. It just goes on and on and on, how many people I'm following, how many companies I'm following, all right? Mine is much more broad. But companies, when you apply to them, are gonna look, are they following us? So before you even apply, go on LinkedIn, start following them, right? And what does following them do for you? It puts you in their search pool, and what else?
It also, as I found out, it put me in searches that with other people with the same interests.
Okay, there's one more key thing though that it does. Yes.
Is it showing that employee that you're doing researches and then?
Well, it does do that, I'm not gonna deny that. But anytime the company posts something on LinkedIn, now it's on your feed. Anytime they offer a job that you might qualify for, it's on your feed. So you have to be willing to take the time to do this part. All right, don't sleep on this when you're developing your LinkedIn profile. And then it keeps you aware of what's going on in the company. So that when you go into the interview, right, you know that IHG just opened this new brand or this new location, or that they just gave $1 million to this recent hurricane relief fund, right? So it helps you with your interview prep. If you're already following them on LinkedIn, it's kind of giving you stuff that you should know about the company, in addition to looking at their website. This goes beyond just looking at their website, right? So you can't, this is something that I noticed right now. We've started developing the LinkedIn profiles, but we're not doing this part well. So this class is gonna be like my new, yeah, we got it. We know what we're doing on LinkedIn. Any questions about that? I was hoping someone says, how do you follow someone on LinkedIn? You literally type in the name of the company. So, do me a favor, Dominique, tell me a company that you might be interested in. Okay, so I happen to be following them already, but if I type literally the Peabody Hotel, you go on this, and then you start to follow. Okay, I'm already following them, so I'm kind of intrigued by that. And now I can see all the jobs that they're offering. Now look, some of the companies don't post their jobs on LinkedIn, and they're making you go to their site. So don't assume that if they don't have it listed on LinkedIn, that it's not gonna be there. Now, this is a key button, because if I wanna know jobs that they're posting, I better click that button and let them, and answer each of these questions, like when do I wanna receive alerts and all of that. But right now, I can't deal with that, but if you're interested in that company, make sure you do that, okay, Dominique? All right. It's that simple, guys. So going back to my profile, after you put in all of your experience, LinkedIn will propose a summary for you. They'll take the keywords and they start crafting this for you. And then you edit that. So my LinkedIn summary was like, Spanish speaking translators, this, that. Guess what? I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to get stuck just translating Spanish in every job that I take. I was getting tired of that. So I took that part out of my LinkedIn profile. All right? If you want to do that, if you think that's your foot in the door because you speak a different language, then put it. All right? And then you're going to start getting those offers that include, something bilingual. Right? So you get to edit that. And it's only after you put in your experience will it propose a summary for you. Some people feel like your summary has to be like a page long. I disagree. It could be short and to the point, okay? So for me, I'm a results-driven career specialist with a demonstrated history of building strong partnerships, skilled in event planning, management, customer service, teaching, and leadership, exceptional collaborator, and contributor to any team. That's how I define my brand. You have to decide after self-assessment how you define your own brand. Again, I can't do that part for you. LinkedIn's gonna help you a little bit, all right? When it comes to that. You have a question? Okay. So, it is now time for us to break here, so I'm just going to pull up my slide and just go here. Because Professor Four is going to cover LinkedIn a whole lot more, all right? It's important that you guys are logging your experiences. And let me remind you why. On Tiger Zone, all right? In the future, the university is going to be looking at co-curricular transcripts that are produced on Tiger Zone to consider you for opportunities, including scholarships. So if you're not building these co-curricular transcripts now, and if they say attach your co-curricular transcript to the scholarship opportunity, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So just take the time to do that now. You log into Tiger Zone. You can find it by going to Memphis.edu, search bar Tiger Zone, all right? When you log in, it's going to be your initial there or headshot there, okay? Next, you're going to get to this page. You're going to go to the Experiences tab. Right? You're going to click on Experiences right there. Then you're going to add an experience by clicking onto that blue tab right there. You're going to pick whatever competency it was. For today's presentation, what do you think is the strongest competency that we talked about? There's professionalism, but I actually think that there's one that's more important. You said it too. Self-awareness and personal behavior. Okay, the whole debunking the millennial myth and knowing how you have to promote yourself professionally moving forward. That's self-awareness, guys. All right. So then I would pick that one. And then when you're producing this, so I wanted to give you an example of what that looks like at the end. Someone with a strong co-curricular transcript, there's going to be some meat to it. It might be pages long, right? So this is someone else's co-curricular transcript that I took a sample of, all right? And this person can attach it to their scholarship application. This is a direction that the university is moving towards. I'm kind of giving you a heads up here, all right? So you can be ahead of the game. So please remember to take time to do that. I am 5 minutes overboard, but you're going to see me again. You know my email, you know my contact information. I'm going to see a lot of you tonight. So thank you for giving me your undivided attention, guys. All right? Good stuff.